Hello, my name is Steven Eiderstein, and welcome to The Narrowing Path, Walking the Spiritual Walk. I'm really looking forward to this next section of the book that we're going to be getting into, and we're going to be continuing reading material from Emmet Fox. Like I said last week, we're going to be getting back into Sermon on the Mount. Now, I don't know if you're new to this channel or not, but I did do a review of the second chapter, the Beatitudes. Emmet Fox went through the Beatitudes as written in Matthew 5 of the Bible, and gave his understanding, interpretation, and expansion on the Beatitudes, which I commented on. So if you haven't seen that, I've got a playlist in my channel for it. Please go ahead, check it out. It's really a lot of good stuff there. But what we're going to be reading is the chapter As a Man Thinketh, which is chapter 3 in the Sermon on the Mount. You might also see this copy that I pick up and then read out of too. It's got my some notes in it and things like that, just for awareness. So we're going to be reading chapter 3. And the copy of the Sermon on the Mount that I'm going to be reading out of directly is from 1938. It is the book was originally written in 1934. I try to get as close to the originals as I can when I'm doing these readings, just because I think it really helps with context, making sure there wasn't anything lost in interpretation. So I'm really looking forward to it. Again, this is from Matthew 5. We're going to be reading the verses from Matthew 5, the verse numbers 13 through 16. And I do want to address that James Allen, another one of the very influential authors in my spiritual journey and recovery and new way of living, wrote a book called As a Man Thinketh as well, which was extremely, extremely impactful on my life. And I've done a review of that as well. I'd recommend you go and listen to it. But the title for that was drawn from Proverbs 23:7. So not the same text, but we still get the same message, which is really a beautiful thing when reading scripture and reading spiritual literature in general. There's some common themes, and truth is truth, regardless of where you find it. So I'm really grateful for that myself. So I appreciate everyone's support of the channel, though, and everyone's likes and follows and subscribes and whatever platform you're watching this on and hearing this on. I just want to say thank you. I really do appreciate it. So let's go ahead and get into this. And I'm going to go ahead and read this section from chapter 3 from the book Sermon on the Mount by Emmet Fox, titled As a Man Thinketh. And I will read the first set of scripture up until he starts quoting different Bible verses. So, chapter 3. As a man thinketh. Ye are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost his savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is thenceforth good for nothing, but can be cast out, and to be trodden under foot of men. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. In this wonderful passage, Jesus is addressing those who have awakened to the understanding of material bondage and have acquired some spiritual understanding of the nature of being. That is to say, he is addressing those who understand the meaning of the allness of God or good, and the powerlessness of evil in the face of truth. Such people he describes as being the salt of the earth and the light of the world, and indeed that is not too much to claim for those who understand the truth and who really live the life that corresponds to it. It is possible, and in fact only too easy, to accept these vital principles as being true, to love the beauty in them, and yet not to put them consistently into practice in one's own life. But this is a perilous attitude, for in that case the salt has lost its savor, and is good for nothing but to be cast out and trodden underfoot. If you understand and accept the teachings of Jesus and you make every effort to practice them in every department of your own daily life, if you seek systematically to destroy in yourself everything which you know should not be there, things such as selfishness, pride, vanity, sensuality, self-righteousness, jealousy, self-pity, resentment, condemnation, and so forth, not feeding or nourishing them by giving in to them, but starving them to death by refusing them expression. If you extend the right thought loyally to every person or thing within your ken, especially to the people or things you dislike, then you are worthy to be called the salt of the earth. If you truly live this life, then it does not in the least matter what your present circumstances may be, or what difficulties you may have to struggle against. You will triumph over them all. You will make your demonstration. And not only will you make your own demonstration in the quickest possible time, but you will be, and in a very positive and literal sense, a healing and illumining influence on all around you, and a blessing to the whole human race. You will be a blessing to men and women in remote places and times, men and women of whom you will have never heard, and who will never hear of you. A light of the world, in fact. Startling and wonderful as that may sound, that certain forms of pleasure skipped a page. Shoot. The state of your soul is always expressed in your outer conditions and in the intangible influence which you radiate at large. There is a cosmic law that nothing can permanently deny its own nature. Emerson said, "What you are shouts so loudly that I cannot hear what you say." In the Bible, the city always stands for consciousness, and the hill or mountain always means prayer or spiritual activity. I will lift up my eyes unto the hills from whence cometh my help. Except the Lord keep the city, and watchman waketh but in vain. The soul that is built upon prayer cannot be hidden. It shines out brightly through the life that it lives. It speaks for itself, but in utter silence, and does much of its best work unconsciously. Its mere presence heals and blesses all around it without special effort. Never try to force other people to accept spiritual truth. Instead, see to it that they are so favorably impressed by your own life and conduct and by the peace and joy that radiate from you, that they will come running to you for their own accord, begging you to give them the wonderful thing that you have. I, the Christ truth, if I be lifted up, will draw all men unto me. To do this is to make your soul truly the city upon the hill that cannot be hidden, because it is the golden city, the city of God. This is to let your light shine to the glorifying of your Father, which is in heaven. And that is where we're going to stop. There's so much in just that 2.5 pages there. That is really a foundational understanding I now have of truth. So I'm really excited to kind of go through it a little bit with you and to hopefully have some feedback from y'all about this too. So I like how he honestly starts this chapter with, after the reading, he says who this is really addressed to, and it's addressing those who have awakened to the material bondage and have acquired some spiritual understanding of the nature of being. So it's directed to those who realize there is more to life than the material, and that the material just equals enslavement or bondage to it, right? That there's this allness of God or good that they have an understanding of, and the powerlessness of evil in the face of truth. That's pretty substantial right there, right? So these are people that have come to understand, and really, frankly, it's usually come through disappointment and pain in life, that, you know, the material pursuits are in vain, that nothing of this world can really provide me the peace, the fulfillment, the comfort, and the love that I'm really looking for, that the pursuit of money or power or prestige or pleasure or anything of that nature will always end up hollow, will always end up there will always be a need in my soul. I will always be craving that if I pursue that lifestyle, right? So this is really targeted at the people that have found materialistic living to be pointless, right? To be an empty existence. To those who have everything and is miserable, to those who have tried to get everything and have just ended in self-pity and depression, for those who can't seem to manage living well, right? Like there's so much that there are so many ways this manifests in people, and people find themselves in this position where like there's got to be something more than this life that I've made for myself. What is that thing? And they find it in a connection with a God of their understanding. They find it in connection with a spiritual solution, some might say. And when they dig into that and they find truth there, and they find the power and the presence of this God or this power greater than themselves, whether that universe or energy or source or power or light or nature or whatever it is that you find this connection to, they find truth there. They find that truth will always overcome evil if we just embrace it and we connect with it. So they start to find the power that they've always been craving. And I know that was true for me. Like I wanted to just figure out a way to live differently, and I couldn't do that on my own, no matter how much I tried. Right. So I ended up walked on this journey of spirituality, and I didn't even know I had started it, but I found this power of this God of my understanding. Right. And these people, this is the really cool part about this that Emmet Fox is pointing out. And he says that these are the people that are the salt of the earth. People that know that there's something more than just this material world. People that know there's depth and weight that we have yet to find and explore, right? That it's not just the money you have or the possessions you have or whatever it might be, that there's a deeper message and a deeper purpose in this world. These are the salt of the world. These people are salt of the world. These people are the virtuous. These are the light of the world that we talk about in these verses. The people that know, intellectually know of the spiritual truths, right? Well, and know in their heart too, actually, of these spiritual truths, right? These are the people that know and understand it. But to be called salt of the earth means you also have to live a life that reflects this knowledge too, right? Fox cautions against people who know truth but do not apply it, or only apply it sporadically. It says it has to be applied consistently and without really reservation, right? So I know it's been my experience, it's been my understanding that I have seen people that have knowledge of spiritual truths, that have knowledge of good and right and righteousness, even you could say, and they still choose to ignore it. They still choose to abandon the practice. They still choose what I would call a selfish and self-centered way of living instead of right practice and ethical practice, right? And moral practice. These are people that know but do not actually follow through with the action. And this means the knowledge is worthless, right? What is this? If you have the knowledge of spiritual truths and this depth and this purpose of living, and you don't apply it, it's a worthless thing. These are the people that have lost its savor. These are the people that live this way, have obtained the knowledge, so they were the salt of the earth, and then they do not practice that, so they've lost their savor. So the knowledge is worthless. It should just be forgotten about by them, right? But for those that I've seen in this situation, and the times I may have myself done this, the guilt just grows because you can't forget it when you come in contact with the truth. At least I can't. You can't change a truth. You can't manipulate it in your mind. Because once you have this knowing that's in your soul, when you have this comprehension of this truth, your perspective will forever be altered, right? It's like in 12-step groups, right? They say a head full of 12-step and a belly full of booze or whatever it is, don't mix, because you know why you're doing it and you know what you're doing is wrong. You have that problem. So those who have this knowledge, those who have come to this understanding and this experience, but do not practice the way of living that is outlined by these truths, that is almost demanded by these truths, right? That knowledge is worthless. The knowledge of truth is worthless then. You know, there's a common saying that goes in 12-step recovery, but I think it's much broader than that. It's faith without works is dead, right? So this knowledge of faith, this knowledge of truth, this knowledge of the God of your understanding and spirituality and these principles, it's dead. You have to action the information. You have to actually take the actions and move forward with the information. Because if you don't, what's the point? What's the point? So I'm going to read a paragraph from it that was I really, really enjoyed. So if you understand and accept the teachings of Jesus, so you have this understanding, you have this knowledge, you are what would be considered a light into the world, the salt of the earth, right? So you have the knowledge and you're practicing them. So if you understand and accept the teachings of Jesus, and if you make every effort to practice them in every department of your own daily life, that's a big thing right there. You make every effort to practice them in every department of your own daily life. Every effort to practice them, not just when you feel like it, but every effort, every opportunity you have to practice them in all areas of your life, not just here, not just there, everywhere. In every relationship and dynamic that you're involved in everything, every committee you're on, every person you see, every grocery store you go in, you are practicing these principles, right? If you seek, and this next part's really important because he talks about how to actually practice them, right? He talks about what the practice actually means. If you seek systematically to destroy in yourself everything which you know should not be there, things such as, I love this list, selfishness, pride, vanity, sensuality, self-righteousness, jealousy, self-pity, resentment, condemnation, and so forth. I love how he puts and so forth, but I mean, that's a pretty inclusive list, right? Of how, at least for myself, how I can be selfish, to be vain or seeking sensuality, whether it's via food or sex or whatever it might be, right? Self-righteousness of I'm better than you. Jealousy, self-pity. Self-pity was one of my worst character defects, right? Poor me, so I can justify bad behavior. Resentment. If you were me, you'd do this too, right? If you were me, you'd act this way. Condemnation. I love to be judgmental, at least I used to be. And so forth. All right, that's quite a list. So we have to intentionally root that out. We have to intentionally destroy in yourself all of these things, right? So it's not saying if you have it. Like he's assuming, and correctly so in my opinion, that you're going to have this stuff. You have to get rid of it. Now, this next part is really, really important. And we get rid of it by not feeding or nourishing them, by giving in to them, but starving them to death by refusing refusing them expression. So he's not saying that magically these things will go away. He's not saying that magically your perspective will be changed or you will have no desire to do these things. You have to starve the behavior. You have to starve the behavior. You just have, I always say it goes, this is the way changing behaviors goes. You have to stop the actual action first, right? In recovery in 12 steps with substance abuse and alcoholism, you have to stop the actual use first, right? You starve the behavior, you stop doing it, you stop gambling, you stop watching pornography if that's a problem for you, you stop eating sweets, right? And it's not to say that you made the decision to stop, so it's going to just go away. That almost is never how it happens. Never easily happens like that, right? No, you make the decision, and then you stop the action, and then you see the thinking behind it. And he goes into how to replace it, right? So we starve the behavior, so we see the thinking, and then he says, if you extend the right thought loyally to every person or thing, right? So the right thought is based on what? Honesty, love, kindness, joy, all of these principles and virtues that we're taught and that we explore, right? And that we learn in this whole thing and from our spiritual walks and our spiritual journeys, right? We start changing our thinking to extend those thoughts to the things around us, right? To the behaviors we want to change, to the individuals we're interacting with, right? Righteous thought. Some would call it Christ-like thinking, right? Whatever your ideal is that you are striving for, you have to incorporate those virtues. So you starve it, you starve the behavior, then change the thinking. Guess what? That's doing the work. That's what I always talk about the work is, right? You change the thinking. And then as when you want to change the thinking, you'll see the belief underneath, and you can change the belief if you need to change a belief, right? So it's stop the action, change the thinking, change the belief. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. But it reiterates the fact, and it's reestablishing the fact, like with James Allen's As a Man Thinketh, like you have to, like the real solution is in the mind and in the heart, right? Our actions and our behaviors and our habits are merely just the final portion of our behavior, of our thinking, excuse me. Our actions, our behavior, and our habits are the last part of our beliefs and our thinking, right? It's the last place that, or it's the final manifestation of what we have in our hearts. So to be salt of the earth, you have to become aware of the spiritual life, the spiritual aspect of living. So you've gone beyond just material living, meaning you know there's more than that. You find the knowledge, and you apply the knowledge. And this is what the application of the knowledge looks like. And if you live in this way, he says, you will triumph over everything regardless of circumstance. It might not be how you think it's going to look. It might not be as quick as you want it to be. It might not involve the people you want it to involve or have the exact result that you're looking for, right? But you will overcome whatever your circumstances are. You will be able to maintain your composure and be able to move forward and take right actions if you're doing this work. You will be able to grow in your knowledge and your understanding. You will be able to grow in your spiritual connection, your spiritual journey. And you will walk through everything. And while you're doing this and you're walking through your own life and you're walking through these circumstances, Emmet Fox goes on to say, you will be a healing and illuminating influence on all around you and a blessing to the whole human race. because you will be giving to it. You will be putting into the world, right? You will have an impact on people that you didn't even know, that you don't even know. You don't know their names. You've never seen their faces. But when you start doing this work and start elevating your own beliefs and behaviors in your own spiritual condition, and you start pursuing this, you will have an impact much larger than you even could conceptualize or conceive. You will be an illuminating influence on all around you. You will be healing and a blessing. What an amazing thing. What a persona, or not a persona, but a state of being to embody, right? To be healing and illuminating to the entire human race. I mean, I'm not that important, but I try to help. But the thing is, if everyone starts doing that, or a lot of people start doing that, we all start getting better. Everyone starts getting better. And that's the beautiful thing about it. So living in this way allows you to be the most effective in being of service to God and others, right? If you want to be of service to those in your family that you love, if you want to be of service to the power greater than yourself, that concept of God that you have personally attained, right? This is the best way to do it, to do this spiritual work, to make these actions, to have these right thoughts, to be to become the salt of the earth, the light of the world, to know these spiritual truths and to live them, to let them become you, become a light of the world. And the impact of your conduct can't be overstated, right? Like we talk a good talk, right? But not everyone walks a good walk. He has a quote in here by Emerson, Ralph Waldo Emerson, and he said the state of your soul is always expressed in the outer. Actually, I'm sorry, I misread this. Looking at the wrong part here. What you are shouts so loudly that I cannot hear what you say, is how he quoted it. The actual quote, I dug into that a little bit because I wanted to see the essay that it came from Emerson. And it's from one of Emerson's last compilations that was published, called Letters and Social Norms. And it's actually in the essay called Social Aims. And there's a lot of different variations that came off of this, but this was the original reading. It's what you are stands over you the while and thunders so that I cannot hear what you say to the contrary, which is in the part that Fox put in the book. It gives the same message, right? Your conduct and who you are, how you behave and act, well, that will overpower your words at all times. How you are, the essence you have, the energy you have, the behaviors that you embody or that you act upon, the habits, those will speak way more than anything that actually comes out of your mouth, right? The state of your soul is always expressed in your outer conditions and in the intangible influence which you radiate at large. Those two things were written back to back, right? So everyone around you will see it, even if you're trying to fake it, right? People will know you're faking it. If you're being manipulative, people will feel that. But if you're being genuine, kind, courteous, and loving, right, people will feel that too, right? The state of your soul will be felt by those around you. Your conduct will reflect the state of your being. A lot of us like to manipulate and lie and cover this up and cover that up and do this and do that, right? But the reality of it is, people can feel what's going on. People can feel when you're trying to get something out of them. People can feel when you're being disingenuous or inauthentic. People could when I was. Lying and being disingenuous was one of the hardest things I had to break, was one of the hardest things I had to change about myself. I didn't know I was even lying. I just thought that's how everyone else lived, but turns out it wasn't. And everyone knew it. I wanted so badly to be a good person, but I didn't have the thinking or the belief, or it wasn't in my heart to be. I was a selfish and self-centered person. So my actions ultimately always resulted in selfish and self-centered results, and having a negative impact on all those around me. So he goes on then to also speak about how to build your soul, or a soul built on prayer, and how it shines so brightly it cannot be hidden. Now, if you haven't watched, or if you haven't read this book before, or maybe you've forgotten if you have read it, or if you haven't watched my previous episodes on the Beatitudes, Emmet Fox stated that prayer is the only true way to change, right? Everything else is temporary, because that invites that power of the God of your understanding into you to change your character, and then therefore will change you permanently, right? Everything else is temporary. So he talks about a character built on prayer as shining so brightly, it cannot be hidden. It will be seen by everybody. It will be experienced by everybody, right? Because it's such a powerful thing to have character built on prayer, to be formulated around a God of your understanding and these perspectives. It's such a beautiful thing. So prayer and meditation, that being still that we talked about last week, right? That be still and know that I am God, right? Having that conversation with the God of your understanding, that power greater than yourself, brings you into this building of your character. It brings you into the willingness and the ability to do that work we talked about, right? Where you stop all these bad behaviors, the pride and the vanity and the selfishness and the self-centeredness and the resentment, and all of it. It's from prayer that those desires are changed, and your character is changed, and your direction in life becomes different. So he's emphasizing the importance of your character will always shine through regardless of your words. So build your character on prayer and a conversation, and the connection with a God of your understanding. And you will have a character that burns so brightly and will be so healing and illuminating that the world will always see it. That is a magnificent thing. It's incredible to actually think about it in that way. And he expands on that. Never try to force other people to accept spiritual truth. Instead, see to it that they are so favorably impressed by your own life and conduct and the peace and joy that radiate from you, that they will come running to you of their own accord, begging you to give them the wonderful thing that you have. For those in 12-step communities, attraction rather than promotion, right? You will live in such a way that people want what you have. You will live in such a way that people will desire to have the peace and the joy and the freedom and the kindness and the love and the forgiveness and the steadfastness of character that you have. They will ask how to get it. And that's when you will have the opportunity to share with them the experience and the spiritual growth that you've gone through to actually build this up, to actually become a part of this. Not everybody knows that. But if you go and try to force it on them, if you try to actually come from a judgmental or a preachy, on a soapbox place, right? They'll push it away. You will actually rob yourself of the opportunity to help them. But if you live in such a way and allow them the same compassion and respect and care, when they see that you've grown and became more happier and contented with life, regardless of your situation, even when you're going through things that they might have crippled under, you've maintained your love, and you've maintained your freedom and your peace, and you haven't caved to the tempting nature of self-pity or resentment. They will want to know how you did that. They will want to know where that strength and that power comes from, right? So do not be condemning. Be someone that is available. Be someone that is compassionate and understanding, and allow people to be exactly where they are. And when they want to know, you share the good news with them. You share the positive message. You share your experience with them and the strength you've found or the understanding that you've achieved that they might have their own, right? Be the salt of the earth. Be the light of the world, right? Be the city on the hill. People will notice. And then you'll be given the opportunity to share that healing and that light that you have found yourself and live in such a way you didn't know was even possible. It's absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. I love this. I love Emmet Fox's readings. I know he doesn't, all of his stuff doesn't align with everybody, but I can tell you the Sermon on the Mount, these are principles that can be practiced anywhere. In this opening chapter of As a Man Thinketh, of this chapter 3, is just so grounding and it's so encouraging, right? Like you can have this. You can have this if you're willing to do the work and you're willing to change your character, right? A lot of people, and James Allen talks about this actually, a lot of people get wrapped up in their own personality, right? And they get very attached to their character defects and they don't know what their life will be like without them, right? Well, I'm always sarcastic. I'm always resentful. I'm always going to be angry at that person. I'm always going to be belittling. This is just how I am. This is just how I am, right? No, that's what you're holding on to. You can change that. You can grow. You can experience a peace and joy and a freedom beyond your wildest dreams if you are willing to just put the work in and willing to let go of those old beliefs about yourself. Because who you actually are is on the other side of it. You are the person before the resentment. You are the person before the sarcasm, before the spite. You are the person before the hatred. But then your belief system gets in the way. Beautiful thing. It's an absolutely beautiful thing. It's encouraging. It gives hope. At least it gives me hope. I hope it did the same for you. But thank you all for joining me for the beginning of the next journey we're going on. I think it'll be 5 or 6 episodes. I can't remember the exact number, but I'm really looking forward to digging into some Emmet Fox. I think it's an appropriate time to do that. And I think that people will really benefit from digging into this book and doing it and having to read themselves. I fully encourage everybody to go get this book and read it because it will change your life if you're open to any of the ideas. So if you want to follow along, please do. I'd love your feedback. I'd love your responses on this, actually, to know if you've read this book and the impact it's had on your life, or if you have no interest in it and you think it's all crap. But I have a feeling anyone that's read this is going to have a similar experience as I did. So I want to say thank you all for joining me today, and I look forward to the next installment next weekend. So until next time, thanks.